May peace and blessings of God be upon all of you. The subject of my speech this afternoon is Islam is a source of justice. I would be reciting a verse from the Holy Quran and then make up my point on that verse and other teachings of the Holy Quran. Respected members of the community and guests, the verse I'm going to recite is from chapter 16, verse number 91. It translates into, "Verily God enjoins justice and the doing of good to others and giving like kindred, and He forbids indecency and manifest evil and wrongful transgression. He admonishes you that you may take heed." In this verse, three levels of giving have been explained. The first level of giving is justice. Justice is that you give what is due. The second level of giving has been mentioned as benevolence and ihsan. Now, benevolence is giving more than what is due. The third and the highest level of giving mentioned in this verse of the Holy Quran is giving like the giving of a mother. When the mother gives something, she doesn't do it as a duty. She doesn't do it in compulsion. She doesn't do it with any hope of getting reward for the giving. Giving to her children is her second nature. So this is the highest level of giving that a person would give to others as if it is his or her second nature. Brothers and sisters, what is justice? Justice is balance. It is akin to balance in the working of the universe. The moment this balance is lost, all the components of the universe would fall apart. Similarly, in our social relationships, this balance is justice. If justice is not maintained in a society, peace of the society would fall apart. The teaching of Islam on maintaining justice in the society are: number one, we must like for others what we like for ourselves. Two, we must pursue the rights of others with the same zeal and determination with which we pursue our own rights. Number three, we should broaden our horizons and look at what is right for the world, rather looking at only what is right for me. And then, even if we have to stand witness against ourselves, in order for justice to be served and truth to be established, we must not hesitate and give our true witness. A broad definition of justice is to render to everyone their due. Islam helps us understand this definition of justice by laying down two ground rules that help maintain a proper standard of justice. Number one, it is necessary that reward of good should not, in any case, be less than what a person has earned. Number two, the penalty for a wrong should not exceed the wrong or transgression committed. Overlooking either of these two principles would amount to injustice. The Holy Quran further guides us, and I quote from chapter 42, verse 41, "And the recompense of an injury is an injury the like thereof. But whoso forgives, and his act brings about reformation, his reward is with Allah. Surely He loves not the wrongdoers." In other words, it is neither revenge, neither punishment, nor forgiveness that can serve the cause of justice. It is how reconciliation can be brought about. If forgiveness can bring about peace and reconciliation, we should forgive. But if forgiveness would make the guilty more fearless, then punishment must be given. The Holy Prophet of Islam, Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, guided the true believers with a golden rule for justice. He said that a true believer is he who wants the same thing for others that he wants for himself. Dear members of the community and our respected guests, Islam is a comprehensive religion. It guides us in all spheres of our life. It teaches us how to conduct ourselves in the mosque, how to conduct ourselves in our homes, when we are out in a street, and how to behave with friends and foes. It is not possible for peace to exist in our homes unless we exercise justice. And it is not possible for us to practice selective justice and then expect peace. If we want conflict to end, then the same rule of justice must apply to all scenarios, no matter how difficult it may be. There are some members sitting here who are talking with themselves. For a few more minutes, please pay attention. I am describing the teaching of Islam on justice. And your justice in this situation would be to give me your ears for a few more minutes. And I'm not saying this merely to impress you. This is the basic teaching of Islam and the very purpose of the founding of our Ahmadiyya Muslim community. We should not only speak the word which is good, but also demonstrate to ourselves and those around us that our word is our motto. Hypocrisy is a grave sin in Islam, and teaching after teaching and guidance after guidance is given to us that we should always practice what we preach. Let us now consider some examples of teaching of Islam on justice. Let us start with justice at home. Islam promotes a loving, caring, and respectful family. It guides us to treat our parents with kindness, remembering their favors on us when we were young and we were not able to take care of ourselves. Then Islam teaches us to treat our spouses with fairness and with respect, and not to treat them as helpers in the house, but as partners. Islam teaches us that the standard of a man's nobility is linked to his kind treatment of his wife. The Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said, "The best among you is one who is best towards his wife." Islam teaches us to treat all our children equally and with respect. Islam teaches us to treat our wives' parents with equal respect and dignity which we have for our own parents. In Islam, all blood relations are sacred. One who does not care for blood relations will not receive God's mercy. Islam asks us to be mindful of our neighbors and their rights, and it attaches very high value to the rights the neighbors have. The Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, has made a very interesting statement regarding the neighbor. He says that Archangel Gabriel has reminded me of the rights of neighbors so many times that I thought the next instruction would be that the neighbors would inherit your properties. Now let us see the teaching of Islam about justice at community level. The Holy Quran gives us two short pieces of advice. It says, when you speak to people, speak to them in kind words. Then you help one another in goodness and piety. But do not help one another in sin and transgression. And Islam doesn't ask us to do justice only to our friends or those who we know or those with whom we are on good terms. Islam teaches us that you have to do justice even with your enemies. And I would relate to you a very interesting incident from the life of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, which would show how much value Islam attaches to the justice to be done to our enemies. During a campaign, the Muslims had a siege of a town. They were not letting anything go into the town so that the town ends their resistance. Meanwhile, a shepherd who was a servant of a chief of the town, he came into contact with the Muslims and he liked the teaching of Islam and he became a Muslim. He accepted Islam. He came to the Holy Prophet ﷺ and said, Messenger of Allah, I have accepted Islam. Now I am a Muslim, but I have a trust of a flock of sheep of the chief of the town. What do I do with this flock of sheep? The Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, told him, you have a trust and you should take care of that trust. Return the sheep to the owners. He said, I cannot go back to the town. He said, guide the sheep to the gate of the town. And when the sheep are close to the gate of the town, they would open the gate and they would have the sheep inside. Imagine, it was a state of war. The town could prolong their resistance if this flock of sheep would be given to them. But the Holy Prophet taught us that even with enemies, you have to deal with justice. Now let us look at justice at national and international level. Islam teaches absolute justice and equality in all matters. And so we find another very crucial guideline in chapter 5 and verse 3 of the Holy Quran, and I quote, and let not the enmity of a people that they hindered you from the sacred mosque incite you to transgression, and help one another in righteousness and piety, but help not one another in sin and transgression. In this verse, we are asked to fully comply with the requirements of justice. It is necessary to treat even those people who go beyond all limits in their hatred and enmity with fairness and equity. And the Holy Quran teaches that wherever and whoever invites you towards goodness and virtue, you must accept the invitation. And wherever and whoever invites you towards sinful or unjust behavior, you should reject the offer. A question naturally arises, what is the standard of justice required by Islam? In chapter 4, verse 136, the Holy Quran tells us that even if you have to testify against yourself or your parents or your most loved ones, then you must do so in order to uphold justice and to uphold the truth. We read, and I quote from chapter 4, 135 verse, O ye who believe, be strict in observing justice, and be witnesses for God, even though it be against yourselves, or against your parents, or against your loved ones. Islam emphasizes justice with other nations in the following way. We see that powerful and rich countries usurp the rights of the poor and weaker countries in an effort to preserve their own rights. They are advised to advise with the poor nations in a just manner. On the other hand, the poor and weaker nations should also not seek to inflict harm on the powerful or wealthy nations whenever they get an opportunity. Instead, both sides should endeavor to fully abide by the principles of justice, and indeed, this is a matter of crucial importance in maintaining peaceful relations between countries. Now let us see what are the things which cause imbalance in maintaining justice. It is either ego, either it is anger, or it is greed. Islam guides us how to deal with these situations in saying, the Holy Quran tells us, O mankind, we have created you from a male and a female, and we have made you into tribes and sub-tribes, that you may recognize one another. Verily, the most honorable among you in the sight of God is he who is the most righteous among you. Surely God is all-knowing, all-aware. This verse reminds us of the fact that our Creator is one, and we are all created as equals by Him from a single soul. Therefore, there is no justification whatsoever for any discrimination or injustice in human society. Explaining equality among humans, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said, "An Arab has no superiority over a non-Arab." I repeat, an Arab has no superiority over a non-Arab, a non-Arab over an Arab, nor is a white one to be preferred to a dark one, nor a dark one to a white one. Now I present to you a piece from the writings of the promised Messiah, Imam of this age, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad alayhi salam, and I quote from his book, Siraj-e-Munir. Huzur says, "It is our principle to have sympathy for the whole of mankind. If a person sees that fire has broken out in the house of a Hindu neighbor, and he does not get up to help in putting it out, I tell you truly that he is not of me. If one of my followers sees a Christian being killed and does not go to his assistance to rescue him, then I tell you quite truly that he is not of us. I say it on oath that I have no enmity with any people." In conclusion, I would repeat some of the comments I have made earlier, that no society can progress without practicing justice. Wherever justice is practiced, it will lead to success, prosperity, and happiness. The Holy Quran guides us, and I quote, "O ye who believe, be steadfast in the cause of God, bearing witness in equity, and let not a people's enmity incite you to act otherwise than with justice. Be always just. That is nearer to righteousness, and fear God. Surely God is aware of what you do. And God has promised those who believe and do good deeds that they shall have forgiveness and great reward." End of quote. God states that one who gives wrongful testimony may be able to deceive the world. But remember, God is well aware of what you do. So if on one hand we claim that we spread peace in society and show the world the way to guidance, but on the other hand contradict our deeds with our words to gain trivial advantage, then rather than promoters of peace and security, we will be among those who cause agitation in the land. A true believer's claim to raise voice against injustice is only true when he upholds high standards of honesty and fairness and makes his testimonies dependent on God's commandments. The verse referred above explains the high standards that God expects of us in matters of fairness. Our fairness should not be limited to our own sphere. Even if our enemy wants justice from us, he should be assured that he will find us fair and just. It should be demonstrated to the enemy that everything a true believer does is based on righteousness, and no one's enmity can cause him to deviate from truth and justice. Our hearts are free of enmity, and we announce that we do not have hatred or enmity towards anyone. Our slogan, "Love for all, hatred for none," embodies this teaching. Let us pray that Allah may enable us to follow the guidance of Islam on upholding justice in our homes, justice in our workplaces, and justice in our neighborhoods, and justice in our towns and cities and our countries. Amen. Thank you.